for the technical difficulties. We're gonna start the run again. Again, I'm Xero. I'm doing any percent, no major glitches in Hollow Knight. Timer starts in 3, 2, 1. Yay! And it's actually working this time. So, like I was saying before, things kind of got cut off. This is a very long game, very well made, lots of abilities, stuff to find, places to be, but I'm going to ignore most of it. It's not because I hate the game, but I just like going fast more. No major glitches as well, I should clarify that. It's basically anything that's doesn't absolutely destroy the game, as long as just stuff that looks cool, or you know, as long as it doesn't destroy the game and it's not totally broken open, then it's fine. Anyway, the first upgrade of the game, or the first area really, is just a tutorial. It's quite long, first 3 minutes of the game. So I'm just gonna let people call out donations, stuff that happened while the stream was down. Like I said, the first area is leading up to the first ability, Vengeful Spirit, which is a fireball. It's a spell. I should talk about the game's mechanics briefly. You can see in the top left, health and soul. The health is the 5 masks. You can see everything that hits me deals 1 mask. Or there's some stuff later on that will deal 2. And right next to that there's a big meter, which is my soul, it's mana. Every time you hit an enemy, you gain soul. And soul is used for spells. There's one spell that you start with automatically, that's a heal, and that kind of sets up one of the basic mechanics of the game, which is being aggressive, hitting enemies, and then using that soul to heal. This is a game that kind of rewards aggressiveness, at least tactical aggressiveness, from a mechanical level. You can also see right next to my soul is my geo. The geo is what's used to buy and upgrade items in this game. It's not very important for this run, but you'll see me buying some stuff later. I'm not coming up on the first boss of the game, False Knight, but actually I don't really feel like fighting him, so I'm just gonna leave halfway through because the devs were kind enough to allow us to skip him. You're going to see him throw a tantrum here, and this wall on the side of the arena becomes breakable. You can walk right through. And this leads to the first ability of the game, the Vengeful Spirit that I was talking about. This is going to be, for the most part, my DPS throughout the entire game. There are other upgrades, but none of them are really worth going for. To put it into perspective, the fireball right now will deal 15 damage, whereas my nail, my basic attack, only deals 5. You might also notice I'm running in strange language. It's not Japanese, it's Chinese actually. And it's because it's faster. All text, scrolls faster in Chinese. It doesn't save much time over the course of the run, but 20 seconds or so. And it looks cool as well. And you can also tell I'm ignoring most of the enemies. There's not really much that they can offer except for Geo and Sol. Sorry, 1 second. That was Balder. It's a long-range enemy, throws its little kids at you. They're quite annoying, but that's why we need the Vengeful Spirit to deal with those guys. You can see that gathering soul for the Vengeful Spirit is quite important. I'll be hitting enemies as often as I can where it's efficient to get soul, because it's nice to have a fireball for when you need it. You'll see coming up here a little bending of major glitches rules. Yeah, I just one-shot that guy because for some reason the fireball hits him like 5 times when it's off screen. Yeah, don't worry about that. Also, one thing you might have seen that I just attempted there, called a fireball skip. When you use the fireball in midair, it cancels your downward momentum. So if you use it at the right time, then it can slightly extend your jump and make some jumps which should be impossible, actually possible. There's another one there that skips actually quite a large amount of green path. A few minutes, I think. And there's another one coming up here, which is a bit of a smaller one. But you can see already just how important hitting enemies for soul was in that area. I needed all those fireballs to skip through and do this area quickly. The boss of this area, bit of a fan favorite, Hornet. Gonna come up to that soon, and I'm gonna want full soul for her as well. This another little mini boss gets destroyed by fireballs. The damage of spells is really something that casual players kind of ignore, but for speedruns it's just yeah, it's almost all we use. And coming up to the Hornet fight right here. What I'm gonna try and do in this fight is I'm gonna try and permanently stagger her. She'll stagger after 6 hits, and after that, after 5. So if I hit her enough, in brief enough periods, then I can keep her staggered and against one of the walls. Where it's easier to DPS her down. And the reward for beating this boss is quite an important one. The Mothwing Cloak. It's a dash, and we need this item to progress. But more importantly, we need it for speed, because walking is really, really slow. Now you're going to see most of the movement just revolving around dashing as often as possible, and trying to optimize the rooms to fit in as many dashes as you can. One thing I also didn't mention, you'll see me opening my inventory in midair sometimes. This might seem a bit weird, but for whatever reason, your falling speed is uncapped while you have your inventory open. So when you're falling down large distances, you can gain quite a bit of speed. And that just makes long vertical rooms like this way faster. It also has the property of cancelling the little stun animation when you land after a long fall, so that just makes it extra fast. The goal of this area that I'm going through right now is to get to the Mantis Claw. The Mantis Claw is probably the most important ability in this game, because it's wall jump, and this is a Metroidvania. So yeah, this will open up basically the entire game from here on. You could access almost any area in the game with just wall jump.
We've got some donations if you don't.
Yeah, that's great.
So first one comes from Horse Science. This was for an earlier run that didn't happen due to the unfortunate conditions that we were put under. £10. Says good luck. Unfortunately, good luck was not had. The next one comes from Axe2U, £5. Says good luck Xero. Glad you were actually allowed on the camera for this one. The next one comes from Ushepti, £4, and it reads, good luck Xero. Hoping for shade skip first try and no Umu deaths. Can I hear your best Elderbug impression?
Alright, so the ability I just picked up is the Mantis Claw I was talking about. Again, this is what allows us to access the rest of the game. You might think, why are you going out of Mantis Village now? Aren't you supposed to go to City of Tears after Mantis Claw? But actually, there's a really simple skip which nobody has ever messed up. Definitely not in a marathon run. That allows you to gain access to the kind of the right side of the map that is kind of the late game area, or a lot of the late game gated stuff. So it basically allows us to skip a lot of kind of mid-game progression for this game, although there's not really a dedicated progression path because it's so open. But the skip I'm talking about is the shade skip, and it's one of my favorite skips because it uses a really unique mechanic of Hollow Knight, which is the shade. Whenever you die, you leave behind this kind of phantom that has all your abilities and holds all your geo for you, and it acts just like an enemy in the world, meaning you can attack it and pogo off it, and I'm going to use that in a creative way in just a second. That's Gru's Mother, the true final boss of the game, which is actually the first boss. It was really easy. There's a little surprise though. A really gross surprise. So one of the reasons why I collected some of the Geo Rocks early on is so that I'd have enough Geo for this charm right here. This is one of the only purchases that we make in the run, but it's absolutely worth it. The Shaman Stone costs 3 notches, which means you can equip it right at the start of the game without any other upgrades. And for the Vengeful Spirit, it increases your damage by 33%. So, considering how useful that spell is, it's a massive DPS increase for almost no effort. So this is the shade skip that I'm setting up here. I have to die, which is why I sat on the bench nearby. Like I said, no one has ever messed that up. And here we are on the right side of the map, the resting grounds. And the reason why this area is so important is because this is the home of the big lore story item, the Dream Nail. This is kind of one of the big goals of the game, and something that's necessary to beat it as well. You need to acquire the Dream Nail because it lets you talk to the dreamers and brutally murder them for no apparent reason. Here's some lore in Chinese. Hope you can read it. Basically, the dreamers are just going to get very mad at me because I'm making progress. But I'm going to be saved by the seer and led out of the dream world. This is just kind of a small platforming section. If there are any other donations or...
Yeah, we've got one more. This donation comes from Vorchrist. The donation reads, I'm trying to explain how I came to the understanding that this reality here on Earth is truly a matrix, and that there is a reptilian race from the constellation of Astro World who are controlling virtual reality here on Earth. Reincarnation here has nothing to do with our spiritual growth from cradle to grave and beyond, and we're never going to get out of this situation without Planet X. Inspiring words.
I have no idea what any of that meant. I think...
The chat has no idea.
So right after acquiring the Dream Nail, I'm going to go off on my vicious, bloodthirsty hunt to...
Mike said, is this some kind of red joke?
to kill all the dreamers, and the closest one is in City of Tears. Another convenient thing about going to City of Tears is that it's the home of Lem, who is some kind of retired bank manager or something. He has a lot of money. He has more money than anyone else in this game, like by a long shot, and he'll just give you money for random bits of crap that you find on the ground. So I'm gonna collect a lot of bits of crap and sell them to him, because that's the best way to get money, apparently. The relic in this room is that I'm going to collect for him is actually something a lot of people don't know about from their casual playthroughs. Just hidden up there on top of the station. So you might be worrying, how are you going to defeat the Dreamer in the City of Tears? Because access to him is gated by the Watcher Knights, which you must need massive amounts of late game items to defeat. But through lots of learning, lots of dying, turns out you can actually beat him with very basic items. That's Gorgeous Husk, by the way. So I'm going to be fighting the Watcher Knights with just the stuff that I have here. Basic Nail, Unupgraded, and Vengeful Spirit with just Shaman Stone. And it's a tough fight. If anywhere in the run I'm going to die, this is probably going to be it. So I'm just going to take a safety bench beforehand. Also another small skip in this room. You would usually need the double jump to get up here, but there's just an object you can pogo on. So there's no need. And again there you see me hitting a lever through the floor. That's quite specific glitch. It only exists on this patch of all the patches in the game, which is why I'm running on an old version. And it makes that little platforming section a bit harder because you can't see what you're doing. So this is the chandelier on top of the Watcher Knights fight. I think most people know about that already. It just kills one of the Watcher Knights before the fight even starts. So you're only fighting 5 of them. Normally you'd have to fight 6 of these guys, which is a bit much, honestly. Yeah.
It comes from Vivian. It's a £15 donation, and it reads, "Love you guys. Hope everything goes flawlessly from here on out. Good luck to both the current and the upcoming runners."
Thanks, Vivian. That went smoother than expected. The last 2 nights were a bit rough. Basically the strategy there was to hit them as often as possible to build up soul, again, to fireball them. But when there are two on the screen at once, you really want to optimize and hit both of them at the same time. So it's a difficult fight to do quickly, and especially a difficult fight to do quickly and not die. I managed one of those things, so I'm pretty happy about that. And this is the first Dreamer down, Lurian. And this kind of sets off the mid to late game of this run. I have 2 more Dreamers to defeat, Monomon and Hera, but first of all I need 1 extra upgrade. It's not the Shade Cloak, it's not Isma's Tear, if you've played this game and you know what those are, but it's actually Crystal Heart. That's the only thing we need to beat the game now. And it's actually used in quite creative ways to avoid some of the other upgrades. But to get Crystal Heart, I need to get into Crystal Peak, and For that, I need the Lumify Lantern, which is why I'm collecting so much gear. For comparison's sake, the only thing I bought so far was the Shaman Stone, which cost 220 geo, and the Lumify Lantern cost 1,800. So it's actually quite ridiculously priced, but we need it. So off to Lem to sell all our shit for money. For some reason, when you defeat Lurian, he goes out into the rain at this fountain, and he must be incredibly fast as well, because we saw him out there, but by the time we get up here, he's already back and settled in. So he's really a speedrunner himself. Probably why he got so rich. Money from all these world records he was getting. So that's me set for the 1,800 geo I needed for Lumify Lantern. So now I need to get back to Dirtmouth to buy that. And the fastest way is the Stagways, which is this game's kind of fast travel system, or one of this game's fast travel systems. There are a bunch of different stations throughout the world, and once you unlock them, you can go to and from them. And this is just the closest station. This section is just platforming basically through Crystal Peak, so if there are any donations at all, just shout them out whenever they happen.
Yeah, we've got 2 more donations right now. One from Nico. They say, I said I'd donate for every death during the Monkey Ball run, and here it is. 18 deaths equals £20. Wanted to round it up. Good luck, Xero, with the rest of your run. Good luck, everyone. P.S. My wallet might hate me now as it's locked itself in the bathroom. That was a £20 donation. The next comes from Visuals. £10 donation. It reads, Xero, you gotta die to Umu. The world record holder did it in both of his any % marathon runs.
Well, if I'm obliged. I'm not sure though. I mean, Shebdi kicked the curse, so. And I mean, if the world record holder dies in a marathon, does it really count as the world record holder? I don't know. So yeah, like I said, this section is mostly platforming. You'll see me trying for just the fastest cycle in every room. There are these little bugs with lasers on their backs, kind of crawling around. And they might seem random, but they're actually just on a timer from when they load. So I'm just going to be trying to platform through these rooms as quickly as possible, but not too quickly, because there are some cycles that will punish you if you try and do that. And the reward at the end of it, like I said, will be Crystal Heart, which is needed to get to the second dreamer that we're going to kill. 1-1. I can start talking about how Crystal Heart works as well, since the run will actually get interesting again once we get it. It's like a charge ability. You stand there and charge it, and then you shoot off completely horizontally, and that's incredibly useful. You'll see me use it to skip across the top of acid pools that would usually need the Isma's tier, that acid immunity upgrade, to get across. But if you can grab onto the wall just above the acid and dash across to the other side, then you can just avoid getting the ability entirely. So that's what I'm going to do right now to get to Monomon from here. Probably should have explained this earlier, but saving and quitting brings you back to the last time you sat at a bench, or the last time the game forced a hard save. It's quite a common mechanic in games. So on the way to Umu, on the way to not die, hopefully. That guy is completely RNG, so thanks for that. And this is the acid skip that I was talking about. Well, this is not the acid skip. This is the first one, and it's actually incredibly easy to do. There's one later on that I'm going to attempt that's almost frame perfect. Well, pixel perfect. There's a few pixels you can do it on. Anyway, basically that one is the real acid skip. The other one is like the, I don't know, babies first. Getting another safety save for no reason, because I'm not gonna die. This boss, Umu, is kind of annoying, not because they're difficult, just because you have to do a lot of waiting around. You can't damage the boss at all until Quirrell makes them vulnerable, which he does very irregularly. So the boss will do 3 or 4 attacks and then will become vulnerable, and then you can get your hits in. So it's a bit boring, and that means that the boss works on cycles. If you can beat the boss in the shortest number of cycles, then you're golden. But if you miss a cycle, you know, if you miss even a small amount of damage, then you have to wait another 20 seconds for the next one. So it's a bore. There is actually a way to beat this boss in only 2 cycles, but I don't know it, so I'm gonna have to deal with 3. It's kind of known as one of the most difficult tricks in this game, at least in that any percent route. So there we go, that's Umu, who was guarding the way to Monomon. Deathless, like it should be. Here's Quirrell again to slow us down for one last time. And yeah, after this is the notorious acid skip that I was talking about to get into Queen's Gardens. This might take a few tries, but I'm gonna try for it no matter what. Like I said, it works by grabbing the wall on one side of the acid and then super dashing across to the next side. That way you never actually touch the acid, and you can, when you get to the other side, you can wall jump up. And the reason why it's so difficult is because there's only a few pixels of the wall before you fall in acid that you can grab onto and super dash from. The reason why it's even important to do is because the next streamer is in Deep Nest, which is quite far away on the game map. Takes a while to get to. And the fastest way is just through Queen's Gardens. That looked decent, but slightly too low. There we go. Like I said, took a couple tries, but this is the fastest way to Hera the final dreamer, so it's kind of necessary. And the reason why beating all the dreamers, obviously to beat the game, if you haven't played it, you need to kill all 3 dreamers to unlock the Black Egg Temple where the final boss is. You'll see a damage warp here, or I'm not sure what to call it, hazard warp. When you fall into the spikes in exactly the right place, it will warp you to the end of that little platforming section, and you can just hit the lever and escape. Just a case of boxes being drawn slightly too large, so you can hit it from the wrong side. And now we're going into Deep Nest, where the final dreamer is. This is most people's least favorite area. Partly because it's so dark, partly because it's full of spiders, which are not my favorite. Has a really ominous design to it, which is very intentional. We're not going to be spending much time in Deep Nest though. Just here to kill the dreamer and get out, basically. There is one final challenge before we get to her though. The Beast Den. This is another of the more difficult parts of the game. And it happens right at the end as well, which is kind of unfortunate. I was just getting full soul there before I enter the Beast Den, because in this area there are these enemies that block the way, called Devouts, that have a lot of health, and again, with only basic fireball, not a lot of fast ways to kill them, except if you damage boost them, or damage boost through them, and basically are able to keep up hits on them as much as possible, so that you can just kind of obliterate them completely during the iframes of taking damage. But it's naturally quite a risky strategy. You can see I didn't quite manage it there. Area is also filled with these wall spiders that shoot annoying globs of goo at you. And get in the way. So it's, yeah, nobody's favorite. Gotta save the grub. And this is the regular way you would fight them without damage boost. You can see it's a little bit slower than just killing them in one go, but it could be much slower because the devouts can kind of choose based on RNG when they open their masks and become vulnerable. It means they can just troll you, so damage boost is just the fastest way through. Anyway, so that was the third dreamer, the final one. And Black Egg Temple is now open and the final boss accessible. All we have to do is get there. And it would be nice to be able to save and quit out of these kind of situations, but every time you kill a dreamer, the game sets a hard save, so you just can't save warp out. You have to walk. And this is probably the last time for donations in the run, so...
We have none.
Okay. Well, people donate quickly. You got about a minute. Yeah, gotta stag back to the start of the game, beat the final boss. Pretty typical trope to put the final boss right in the stunning area, but this game has enough originality already, so I can forgive it. And this boss is maybe my favorite in the run. Watch Knights can be really annoying. Umu doesn't really do much. When it's fun. False Knight I skipped. This run is kind of devoid of really good bosses, but Hollow Knight is probably the best. I'm going to be focusing on fireballing him like with the other bosses, just because it deals so much more damage than normal nail hits. There are some attacks he does where if you cast a fireball kind of behind him, you can sometimes get double hits. Not showing it off very well, but the fireball has kind of like a large hitbox. So it follows behind him and hits him again. Now he's parrying me endlessly. That's fun. As you go further through the fight, he starts getting more and more crazy, starts hitting himself, and he becomes a lot less of a threat overall. But he has some attacks like these ones, which are a little random. Nice. I just gotta slight skip there by hitting into his hitbox right when he started the scream. And that's Hollow Knight down. Time is gonna come up when the screen fades to black. So I'm just gonna suck out all his juice and yeah. And time. That went surprisingly well.
So yeah, how'd you think you did? Went good?
I think it went awfully, but I didn't die, so
Yeah, that's always a positive.
yeah.
Do you want to give an estimate for what you think your time was?
I'm gonna estimate something 46 range.
40,
46.
5,
Ah.
12.
Oh, that's decent.
Yeah, better than you thought.
Yeah, much better.
Well, thank you for coming down to the run.
Thank you for having
hope
me.
you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I
Hope
did.
you had a good time. Hope everyone watching enjoyed it too. Suck the juice right out of that last enemy. Delicious.